This one is for the fans. Samsung has a phone for pretty much everyone. It's got its S series, which is the top of the line. It's got its Z series, which is the foldable range, and it's got its A series, which is for the entry-level market. Samsung launched its S24 range back at the start of the year, and it has a pretty solid lineup with the S24 Ultra, the S24, and the S24 Plus. But as it has done for the past few years, it has just released the S24 Fan Edition. Now, this version of the phone combines some of the best features from the different models in the range at a price point that's lower than the other models, making it an attractive option for people looking to get the flagship experience at a lower price. Typically, when you cut the price of a piece of technology like the Samsung S24, you're going to see sacrifices in specs. You're going to see things cut back. You're going to see lower specs. But somehow, Samsung has managed to keep things pretty high-end for the S24 Fan Edition. It's powered by the Exynos 2400E, which is similar to the Exynos 2400 that's powering the S24 and the S24 Plus in Australia. It still features a triple camera array with the main 50 megapixel sensor, the same as the S24, but with slight tweaks to the telephoto lens and the selfie camera, dropping the resolution just slightly to keep costs down. There are a couple of other minor changes as well, such as an optical fingerprint scanner versus the ultrasonic one found in the S24 and S24 Plus. But otherwise, the specs are actually not that much of a step down. In some cases, there's actually been a big improvement. Battery capacity on the S24 FE is a big step up from the S24 and even the S23 FE last year. There's a 4,700 milliampere hour battery inside this thing, which is plenty and gives this all-day battery life comfortably. In terms of design, this thing is something of a cross between the S24 and the S24 Plus. It has a 6.7-inch display with a full HD plus resolution, which is the same resolution as the smaller S24, but about the same size as the S24 Plus, which has a much higher resolution. So it's kind of compromising the two into a device that is cheaper. Don't get me wrong though, image quality on the display is fantastic. It's super bright, it's easy to see in full sunlight, it's easy to control, and it's super responsive. It's got 120 Hz refresh rate, so scrolling through it is super smooth, and there's no real concerns on the display front. It does feel a little chunkier than the S24 and the S24 Plus. The design reminds me a little bit of the A series in that it's slightly more squared off on the edges and with sharper corners, but it's not a bad design by any stretch of the imagination. It just feels like it's a little bit harder to hold in the hand. When it comes to performance though, this thing does a pretty good job for a flagship phone at a lower price. When I tested the S24 and the S24 Plus earlier this year with the Exynos 2400 processor, I was given pre-production models, so I couldn't actually benchmark those phones effectively, but I was able to benchmark this. And while the Exynos 2400E is not the same, it gives us a pretty good indication of where things sit. Performance for single core is roughly the same as the Flip 5 from last year, but with higher multi-core and better GPU performance across the board. It doesn't compete with the S24 Ultra's Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 processor, but did you really expect it to? This is a phone that is a fraction of the price. Of course, benchmarks are always just a part of the equation. And to test this out, I spent a lot of time playing Diablo Immortal, and honestly, it ran super smoothly. There was no issues. Same thing with scrolling through social media and sending emails, browsing the web, all of the things that you would typically do with your phone. The processor keeps up. There's no lagging, there's no frame rate drops. It does a really solid job when using the phone. When it comes to the Galaxy S series, one of the reasons you would want to go for the flagship family is its camera array. While there has been some slight drops in megapixel count for the telephoto lens, the camera is still great. You still get really clear, vibrant shots no matter what type of photo you're taking with the FE. Like the S24 family before it, Samsung has kept its oversaturation issue dialed down a little bit. So images actually seem really natural, really good color reproduction, and look good straight out of the box without any tweaking of the settings. You can dive into the settings and get more from the camera if you choose, but straight out of the box, you'll get some really good photos from this phone. On the battery life front, I managed to get through about a day and a half to 2 days using this. Moderate usage. I don't necessarily do battery tests because battery really depends on how you use your phone, but I found that it's pretty solid in terms of day-to-day use. You'll get through a day easily, maybe push it to 2 if you're a little bit of a lightweight on using the phone. Right, so what don't I love about this? My opinion of Galaxy AI has progressed throughout the year. It's changed a lot, and I'm currently at a point where there are elements to Galaxy AI that I really love. Things like the interpreter function, which allows you to hold a conversation with someone in a different language in real time, is mind-blowing. The ability to transcribe audio notes effectively is also something that's really useful for me in my role as a reviewer. Anything creative I feel is not worth using. So think things like creating an illustration from a photo or sketching a picture and having it turn it into a piece of art. These things I've tested once, I don't use unless I have to for a review. They're not useful. The output is not great. It's very generic. It's very samey. I don't feel that it adds a lot of value to the phone, despite the fact that Samsung is pitching this as the next big thing. And beyond that, there is also a chance that from the end of next year, Samsung's going to start charging for some of these AI functions. So I'm not overly worried about it, but the S24 FE has all of these functions, as you could imagine. It also has circle to search, which again, I've not used since I first tested. I figure it's easy enough to type in what I want to search for. And I guess the thing for me with Galaxy AI is, am I paying for something that isn't actually useful to me? With the FE, I feel like it's less of an issue because you're not actually paying the full price of something like the S24 Ultra. But it's still something that I'm not sold on. I don't feel that the AI functionality being pitched to us is actually that useful in real world situations. So when it comes down to it, the Samsung Galaxy S24 FE is a really solid phone. It's actually a great option for people wanting that flagship experience without having to pay full flagship prices. It is an interesting device in terms of timing, in that it's launching a few months, probably 3 to 4 months before Samsung's due to launch its S25 series devices, which arguably will see a big step up in performance. There's also not that big of a price difference in reality between the S24 and the S24 FE right now. Given that the S24 is over 6 months old now, you can get it at a highly discounted price, but the S24 FE, being new, typically doesn't have that discount experience. So you're paying roughly the same price. It's hard to say from a benchmarks perspective whether or not there's any benefit to getting the S24 because, as I said, I wasn't able to benchmark the S24 back when I tested it. That said, the S24 FE does have a larger screen, which does make it quite a large phone that may not suit everyone. So if you do prefer your phones to be more compact in your hand, the S24 is going to be a better option anyway. So if you're after a flagship phone at a discount price, you've got a few options there from Samsung, but the FE is worth considering given it offers the same experience at a cheaper price point. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.